Hello. Uh, who am I? I am right now technical director in 11-bit Studios. I was a programmer of Anomaly series, both of them. I programmed Funky Smugglers, the best 11-bit Studios game. You can't buy it anymore. It was a mobile game. I was a programmer in This War of Mine. I was one of the project leads in Frostpunk, and closer. Okay, sorry. And I was a senior engineer at Frostpunk2. Right now I am in a new 11-bit Studios project, so yeah, I can't say anything about it. And I would like to take you on a journey from this, Frostpunk 1, to this, Frostpunk 2. And quite a journey it was. So, Frostpunk was released in 2018. It was made on our own technology, Liquid Engine. It was made by a team of around 40 people, and it took 3 years to develop Frostpunk. Frostpunk 2 was released in 2024. It was on Unreal Engine 5.2. Right now it's 5.4. I think the upcoming patch changes the engine version. It was fun. It was made by around 80 people, and it took 5 years of development. So quite a lot has changed during the production, but that's normal. So let's start with the engine. Our own engine, Liquid Engine. It supported all of our games: Anomaly, Funky Smugglers, Sleepwalker's Journey, Anomaly 2, Anomaly Defenders, and the end of Anomaly, This War of Mine, and of course Frostpunk. It was our internal in-house technology, made purely by us. It was very multi-platform. There was a time that I was afraid to open the fridge because a game could be ported on the fridge. So we did mobile, BlackBerry, Blueberry, iPhones, all the consoles, like everything, every single device. It was multiplayer-ish ready. We had created multiplayer for Anomaly 2, which was a total disaster. Nobody played that. It was ECS-based, so Entity Component System, and it was very hard to use it daily. Why? Because it looks like that. And this is updated UI version of the engine. The old version looked like Windows 95. So, we started the development of Frostpunk 2 in 2019. Let's go. We started prototyping, iterating, developing, implementing, and crashing. A lot of crashing. Because our engine was unstable. We had to create features for other games and other game genres. If you see the alters, it has nothing to do with Frostpunk. And it also started on Liquid Engine. It was just after the fresh UI refactor. As I told you, the pretty UI was the new UI. We had like 5 engine programmers at most, so very little team. And a lot of people started to work on that, so there were a lot of problems that came up. And the frustration grew. So we needed a quick solution. And in game development, if you need a quick solution, you go to Unity. So we split the team. The Unity team could start prototyping, iterating, developing, and implementing with less crashing on Unity. And Liquid Engine team was going to fix the engine, was going to implement all the features that the Unity team already designed, and create tools needed to finish the game. And they had more crashing, a lot more crashing. So we were hyped up, ready to go, the beginning of 2020, and you know what happened at the beginning of 2020? Yep, COVID happened. So we looked more like that. But we did create the tech demo on Liquid Engine. It was a beautiful piece of software. This is Frostpunk 2, believe it or not. Why it looks like that? Because the Liquid Engine team didn't have any artist whatsoever. So this is a programmer's art in the purest form. But it worked. We proved that the engine is in relatively stable place. Relatively, we can create still games on that. But the other prototype on Unity looked much better. It was called the Mood Demo, and it looked basically like Frostpunk2. The goal here was to present the board with the mood of the game. So this was created. And we came to a point where we needed to have a decision on what engine we actually would like to develop the game. So, Liquid engine, the progress was too slow, like the features of the Mood Demo and the Liquid engine prototype were like miles different. So the progress was too slow. We also had a lot of tools missing in the Liquid engine, especially for the artists. We had stability issues, so maybe less crashing than in the beginning, but still crashing. And we had recruiting issues because, believe it or not, nobody wants to work on custom tech except the programmers. So all the designers, all the artists prefer using commercial engines like Unity or Unreal. And of course, we didn't have the time to develop the engine and then develop the game, because that's what it came to be. So, in our opinion, trying to maintain good for everyone tech proved to be impossible, especially when you want to have an engine that supports strategy games, adventure games, and all different genres. It is simply impossible, so Liquid engine died. Good riddance, it was an awesome engine. We've had a lot of fun. So yeah. So now we were left with the decision whether we want to use Unity or Unreal Engine. And we thought that we'll evaluate that and create a process for that evaluation to have certain criteria. So, feasibility of the engine. Does the engine have all the features, the tools we need to create a game? Does it perform well? Does it support the platforms, target platforms that we want to release the game on? Is the engine pretty? I mean, art fidelity of the games made on that engine? Do we like the architecture of the engine and the way it organizes the project? Then, of course, we needed to take into consideration what our people already knew or could do, so the tech team experience and attitude towards each engine. We needed this evaluation because we didn't want to be here, so in the end we didn't want to have unfinished game. We do want to create games and make money out of it. So I will compare the two engines in our view. It is not a full comparison. I don't want to hate any of the engines. So this disclaimer is this is purely subjective from the point of view of our team at 11-bit Studios. So feasibility. Of course, both engines seem to have all the features and tools we need. These are commercial engines. They do have all the tools. Both engines support plugins and are plugin friendly, so if something is missing, we can add it to the engine. The optimization and overall performance was better with Unreal, at least in what we saw. Both engines support all the needed platforms needed, so both consoles and PC. And Unreal had one more advantage. Unreal's source code is available. I think it's basically free to download all the code base of the Unreal. And with Unity, you don't have that up front. You need to talk with them to get the engine code. At least that was the situation in 2020. Maybe that changed. So we made a list of similar games. And on Unity, there was a lot of strategy games with a lot of quite cool titles like Homeworld, Deserts of Karak, Master of Orion, Cities Skylines, Battletech, Phoenix Point, a lot of cool games. On Unreal, on the other hand, there were less games, but they were the bigger titles. I mean, XCOM, Might and Magic's Hero 7, Battlefleet Gothic, Tropico. So yeah, it was less games, but better titles. So what we concluded is that Unreal is not really suited for strategy games, and yet we used it. Art fidelity. In general, Unreal invested a lot in graphics. This was the time where Unreal Engine 5 was on the horizon. This was the time where the Matrix demo came out. So all the Lumen, Niagara, whatever, all our artists were super hyped for that. Unity was, and probably still is, associated mainly with mobile games, at least in the heads of the developers. It might not be true, but yeah, this is the kind of mindset you have when you approach Unity. And it was way easier to recruit people for Unreal because of that reason, because Unity is generally considered for smaller games. So all the best artists and designers usually work on Unreal and would like to stay that way. And there aren't many good-looking games in Unity, and our art director said that he always see this Unity look in games. So his opinion was strictly negative about the engine. Unity tends to be messy in terms of project organization. It's very easy to create a mess in the project. C# as a scripting language is harder to get to know, especially by non-technical people like designers, and blueprints seemed like better and easier to learn. No engine had the entity component system, the architecture that we would love to stick with, and in Unity ECS was in beta. And Unreal doesn't care about ECS. Maybe now they do, but now we don't care about their ECS. And Unreal also provides ecosystem around the engine. You have tools to automatic builds, to test the game, to handle the repository, the engine updates, like your own game updates. It's easier to get into the whole ecosystem around the engine. And both engines had problems with legacy code, and still they have, with legacy code and new features development. You always need to wait for the new shiny feature to be in Fortnite in case of Unreal. So if it's in Fortnite, it probably be in engine and it probably works. Our attitude and experience. We had a lot of C++ experienced programmers. Our decision was to implement the game mainly in code, so don't use blueprints or C#, just the engine code, like C++ code basically. Some of us, me included, had some experience in Unity. I made a game, it was called Big Swing in Unity, and there were some other developers that also knew Unity. But we had two other running projects in Unreal. One of them was The Alters, the other one was Project 8. So our art team definitely preferred Unreal, and they were strongly convinced to use Unreal. My personal team, the gameplay team, was divided. There were people who loved Unity, there were people who loved Unreal. But in the end of 2021, in the early 2021, we made a decision, almost 1 year and a half into the project. And it was Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine. So, the engine. We have a new engine. Yeah, how the fuck are we gonna make a game with that? So, it wasn't easy in this 2021. 40 people with little to no knowledge about the engine. Divided by specialization, features, teams, and mindsets. Project already out of schedule-ish. I know the board knew that we were struggling with the engine, but they still wanted to have the game like in a possible future. We worked and had a working and accepted prototype on another engine, the Unity prototype. It was already working, so yeah, the board was like, why the hell do you want to change the engine? Well, we do. There was a bad aftertaste after the closing of Liquid Engines. Basically, all the engine programmers were pissed off. And still the COVID was running, so yeah, it really wasn't easy, because between the projects you usually modify things in your company. So we had a new idea, DevOps, introduced in the company. We switched from SVN to Perforce. We had a quality assurance redefinition, so all the QAs were also pissed off. We had changes in production methodology. We went from Scrum to Nexus. We also didn't know whether we need a technical team, engine programmers, so they were double pissed off. But yeah, I will just stop here. So we split the team again. There was a Unity team that needed to finish the mood demo for the board, like they were prototyping new features for that, usually design work. After they finish, they should join the rest of the team, and the rest of the team started game jams. Because why not? The idea was that with the game jam part of the project, we wanted to have 3 separate teams: the narrative team, the gameplay team, and artists, basically the environment team. The only goal of that game jam part was that the people learn how to actually work on Unreal Engine in their respected areas. So the research on how to do it, of the architecture of the game, code assets organization, and so on, had to be made during these game jams. Research on tools and plugins also, and creating your first game basically on a new engine. And we did create 3 games. There was a prime story narrative game in Frostpunk. There was Attack on Titan game created by the environment artists. There was a city builder created by the gameplay team. And at some point we also had a dating simulator with Tadeusz the Love Machine. So, actual production of Frostpunk2 started somewhere in 2021. And the results was a love-hate relationship with the Unreal Engine. I think it's pretty common relationship with that engine. But we had to start working. So we came up with some core principles on how do we want to create that game. So game logic kept in C++. We used blueprints as little as possible. Basically for your user interface and the flow narration, like quest systems, they were in blueprints. We wanted to have data-driven architecture so that the actual content defines how the game works. We wanted to stick with ECS architecture, which is, I think, excellent for strategy games. We wanted to keep the changes in the engine minimal, so do not modify the actual Unreal code. And capitalize on the existing features in Unreal, so do not write like a second engine aside Unreal, just use what the engine provides. And 1 year later, So a friend of mine, Pavel Szyszka, made that video for the 1-year anniversary of Unreal Engine. And one eternity later, I know that it burns your eyes, I can see that. I will just leave it here. No, one eternity later, we evaluated the engine basically and how to work with Unreal. So the idea to keep game logic in C++. It went very good. We have a lot of experienced C++ programmers, so it went fine. You can't merge blueprints, and even if somebody says you can do it, don't do it. You basically can't effectively merge blueprints. So the less blueprints you have in the code, the easier it is to work in parallel on the game. And it's hard to review blueprints, so code reviews are much simpler in actual code than in blueprint code, especially with our skills. I think that after this creating Frostpunk2, we are more experienced with blueprints than we were in the beginning, but for a team that is learning, keeping the game logic in C++ was a great idea. Designers were still able to quickly prototype. They could use blueprints. Then it needed, of course, to be rewritten in proper C++ after some iterations. And of course, we didn't manage to do it all. So there are some game features that are in blueprints, but there are very few of them. So this was good. Using blueprints for user interface and game flow narration, it's an awesome idea that we would love to implement in the next game. And we kept the blueprints where they really shine, because in user interface, like the transitions between windows and so on, blueprints are excellent. And for the game flow, also the quest systems, it's generally easier to even understand how it works when you have the blueprint graph. So it still needed programmers to maintain that. I think it came to the fact that our designers weren't technical. They are more technical right now, so they just needed to learn the tool. So it went so-so. Data-driven architecture. It needed a lot of research. Basically, it was data asset versus data tables. Data asset won, because using data table in Unreal, I don't recommend that. It looks like a simple table, but if you go into the code and need to handle it, it just doesn't work good. So it was data assets for us, and we had a lot of data assets, like thousands of them. So it was pretty hard to maintain, but with some groundwork to organize it, it was quite good. And the idea is rock solid. I mean, I wouldn't like to create a game any other way. It should always be an asset-driven approach. So it also went quite fine. ET's architecture, I like it. I had a few talks about it. It's for me, it's the best tool for strategy game. It suited the team, suited the game. We just wanted to stick with that. We had discussions whether we should use actors for systems or subsystems for systems. Subsystems 1, we used subsystems as systems in entity component system. So yeah, it was something new in Unreal, like the whole subsystem thing. We used it. It required a lot of consulting with more experienced developers from around the world. But yeah, it went quite fine. There were some problems with initialization of engine, just to make sure that all your subsystems are ready to go. We needed to do some changes in that, but still the ETS architecture is possible and worked for us. We wanted to minimize the changes in Unreal Engine. This is the best decision that you can make. The more changes you introduce into the engine, the worse it gets when the engine gets updated, because you need to reapply all the changes, and it can take a lot of time. Even with our minimal changes in the engine, the process of updating from 5.2 to 5.4 took 3 months. So there was one very sad programmer that did that. So it was 3 months for one person. But when it came to like fixing all the assets, more people were involved, and it took a lot of time and a lot of nerves. So minimize the changes in the engine. We started on 4.2, we ended with 5.2, and right now it's 5.4. Cherry picking the engines is not that easy. I mean, if you have Unreal Update, you somehow think that I can cherry pick only the changes that I need and do not update the engine. You cannot do that. You basically cannot do that. It's like the cherry you picked has its roots in the core of the engine, so you end up updating the engine either way, but you just wasted a lot of time cherry picking changes. So update all the way. What we ended with is an overlay over the Unreal Engine. So there is our gameplay layer that communicates with the engine. So when we update the engine, or there are some changes in the Unreal Engine, we only need to update this like overlaying layer. So that is an idea that worked for us. And still, do not change Unreal Engine. Only in like worst case scenario should you modify the engine. And we wanted to capitalize on what the Unreal Engine offers. We kind of had to, because we are paying Epic for the engine, so we would probably want to use it. The platform support for Unreal is not that great. UI is a mess. UI is really a mess. We changed, at one point, we changed font in the game, and it changed the font in the editor. Why? Because it's the same fucking UI in both the editor and the engine. So this is sad. I think that there is one developer in Epic who develops this UI, and he is like a sadistic creature. And the worst part is that if he ever dies, I think the UI will die with him, because there is no way in hell that people are actually developing, more than one person is actually developing this UI system. And I personally don't like it. There is a lot of very old code, I think, getting back to early 2000s in Unreal. And if you search the word hack, it came up like 20,000 times. So some parts of the code are forgotten. I think UI is one of those parts. Its problems are rarely fixed. I mean, there is a great Unreal developer forums, and they actually do help you, but they find workarounds and things that you should change in your code. They don't update the code very often, unless it's a feature in Fortnite. The support is overall good, but don't take anything for granted. For example, you have the system that communicates with platforms like PlayStation or Steam, and it's not implemented for Epic Game Store. I mean, why? But it's not. Then you could assume that it is, but it's not. And there are other such traps in Unreal. So this went pretty bad, capitalizing on existing features. We ended up creating them ourselves. And in the end, we did it. We made a game. Quite a fun game, I would say. Quite pretty. And quite good one, because the reviews are cool. Once again, I'm burning your eyes. So thank you very much for today, for coming.
And I bet that you have a lot of questions, so I'll just be running with mic up and down.
Why you think that players won't not play this Frostpunk on the Android phone?
Once more? What?
This game can run on Android phone? No?
No, it's
And you want-
PC game. It's too big for Android.
Okay, thanks.
You mentioned features like Lumen or Niagara. How did you manage to use the native Unreal features while still keeping a fairly good optimization? Because the features like the path tracing and stuff like that, they run horribly on computers. I'm just wondering how you made the decision to use it or not use it.
The decision was to not use it. For example, with Lumen, I think you change all of your lights into dynamic lights, and you can't actually bake your lights. And if you do bake your lights, the performance goes down very much. So we didn't use that. We used the, let's say, old ways. We had some testing with Niagara, and I think we also omitted it. So we stuck with our known guns and just didn't go to new features.
Hello. You touched upon the board not being happy with changing engines. So I would like to ask, like, how did you manage to change the mind of producers on the board with changing the engine when you already had a working prototype?
Well, first of all, the idea was that if we have 3 projects on the same engine, it would be much easier to talk with Epic about whatever we need. Better deals also. The second thing is that Unity there would be only one team in Unity, and if people would go from project to project, it would be harder to transfer from Unreal to Unity and vice versa. So this was one thing. The board expected us to get a decision and to start developing the game. They didn't actually care what the decision is. They wanted the game. And there was like a little convincing needed, so it was pretty easy. The board are cool guys. These are fine men. So yeah.
And how about the engine developer team? Are they now less pissed?
They are now less pissed. I think that after the project, the engine is more tamed. I mean, we already know what to expect from Unreal and how to use it to effectively. So the technical team is still like 5 or 6 guys, and they are pretty much happy right now. I think getting money for your work is something that you can keep you happy.
Okay. Any more questions?
How much effort did you put into optimizing for Linux and Steam Deck? Because it runs quite well, relatively speaking.
We don't have the version for Linux. The Steam Deck, I think it runs pretty smoothly right now. We even have some features to implement specifically for Steam Deck. So how, I don't know. I wasn't in the optimization team.
Anyone else? Come on, guys.
What was the experience of implementing the AI for the strategy game in the Unreal?
We didn't. We have no AI in
Like-
Frostpunk2.
But like the gameplay and stuff, events that happens and stuff like that. I mean,
Was it good to implement in Unreal?
yeah. Was it like difficult or in general?
I think it wasn't more difficult than implementing it in our own tech. The thing is that we needed to learn the new engine and how people do things in Unreal. And this was the hard part. I mean, this is a working engine. It works quite fine, especially if you create an FPS game. With strategy games, not so well, but yeah, the hardest part was learning how to do it in Unreal the proper way. And when we figured that out, it was quite smooth to just develop and iterate features.
How did you handle the cloud simulations and weather simulations going from your own engine to Unreal Engine? Because the Unreal Engine isn't very good with simulation, which needs to look the same. They usually look very different.
But what simulations do you have in mind? Oh my god.
The snow simulation of the weather and of the frost breaking and everything.
Well, it was. We didn't have this kind of snow like in Frostpunk 1, where people like could make paths in the snow. We didn't have that, so that was easier. And frost breaking, it's just tile based, so it's not very simulation heavy. I mean, the Frostpunk 2, because it has a bigger scale, the camera is somewhat farther from the action, and it has a lot less to simulate in terms of the weather.
Now that you have switched to Unreal Engine, which is not really made for strategy games, do you think your studio will be making some different game genres?
Well, we already do. I mean, The Alters is not a strategy game. It has some strategy elements, but it's not a strategy game. And our other projects also are not strictly strategic. I think that the team of Frostpunk will stick to creating strategy games, but the rest of the teams they do not make strategy games.
Thank you for excellent presentation. And my question is, if you don't use Niagara system in the engine, do you use your own particle system engine, or do you use cascades?
We use like the old Unreal Engine systems. If it's replaced by Niagara, then we have to use it. But we don't really use all the features that Niagara provides. To be honest, I don't know. I don't want to bullshit you. I was the part in the engine team, like the core engine team, but there was a graphics team aside me. So honestly, I don't know.
Okay, so I suppose that Niagara is implemented in the game.
I know for sure we don't use Lumen, and
okay.
We had problems with Niagara, and you like treat it lightly.
Mm-hmm. And my second question is, I saw that you use Perforce. So after 5 years, what's your experience with Perforce? And if members of your team are happy with the workflow with Perforce?
Well, I think that Unreal has a good support for Perforce, and it would be simply not wise to not use Perforce. It's more complicated than SVN, but after we created that DevOps team that I mentioned, they handle all the Perforce things, streams, and so on. So it is quite good. We can also use the Unreal Game Sync with Perforce, and it works awesome. So the regular developers do not even know how the Perforce looks, basically. So yeah, it's fine. It has its problems, but every single piece of tech has its problems. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I had another question. What other softwares did you use except for Unreal, and for what were they used?
What additional software we used? I don't know, Windows. No, but more seriously, we used TeamCity, we use Perforce, of course. We use Houdini engine, Visual Studio, Photoshop. I don't know, 3D Studio Max. Yeah, but around the engine, the core things are definitely the Unreal Game Sync, which I totally recommend to use. And the automatization scripts of like the automatic testing with Gauntlet. It's also a system from Unreal. So yeah, that's basically it.
Do we have more questions? Okay. Excuse me, I don't have a development question. Be more like what is your opinion, or what would you say about the difference between Frostpunk 1 and Frostpunk 2 when it comes to gameplay and the atmosphere of the first game?
Well, like the first game was a city builder. The second one is more in the 4X genre. So the idea was that we went to a bigger scale. And if you imagine like Frostpunk being this war of mine on a bigger scale, then Frostpunk 2 is Frostpunk on a bigger scale. So yeah, that okay. That's the main change in the mood of the game. But otherwise, it's a different game. We wanted to make a different game than Frostpunk, and this is what we did.
So I was wondering, a lot of people in today's, I guess, gaming, a lot of people complain about developers over-relying on DLSS and frame generation. What's your point of view on that?
We do use that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if we are relying on that because this is a strategy game, not animation-heavy title. So for us, it's okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people say that it ends up looking bad, like visually, that it's blurry or stuff like that. Do you think it's a big problem or?
I don't think so. It can look amazing. I mean, this is just a tool. How does it look in the end product depends on how you use that tool. I've seen a lot of ugly games and a lot of pretty games on Unreal, for example. And Unreal is just a tool. You need to use it to create a good game. So the same goes with DLSS, and the same goes with like everything.
Okay, there in the front.
Hi, so I have a question. On the beginning, you said that Unreal and strategy games don't go much alike. Did you change after this project? You're thinking about this? And the second question, if it was about you to choose the engine, which one would you choose?
So I will start with the second question. I would love to still work on Liquid Engine. I love that engine. I'm happy that we stuck with Unreal because I'm not a big fan of Unity. And the first part, yeah, Unreal is not an engine for strategy games, and especially if you look at the UI system, the UI in Unreal is suited for FPS game to just display the health and ammunition. And in strategy games, you have a shit ton of windows displaying different things, and we simply had to create our own UI system, which uses the Unreals, but again, an overlaying layer of our code. So no, Unreal, it's not suited for strategy games, but still, this is a all-purpose engine. You can create a strategy game in that and not losing your sanity, because we did just that.
I guess that we have still time for 2 or 3 more questions, so don't be shy. Come on, anyone? Okay.
You said that you changed from Scrum development, the agile one, into Nexus, and I was wondering what was it like to change from Scrum, and did it actually pay off? Was it better for you?
We had to figure something out for multiple Scrum teams. We've had like 7 Scrum teams working alongside each other, and without something to manage those Scrum teams, we wouldn't be able to. There would be pure chaos. So we chose Nexus over Scrum of Scrums because it was more suited for our team, and it works right now. So you know, when you scale up, the pure Scrum approach is not very good, especially if you have multiple Scrum teams. Then you need to have tools to gather them up and get them to create the same game, basically.
You mentioned that you created a layer about the Unity or facade. Was there any other sort of global or big workaround you had to work on during the development of Frostpunk 2?
I don't think so. We kind of implementing the entity component system architecture was some sort of workaround, because we used subsystems in a way that they didn't, they aren't designed in that way. But still, we do not like rape the engine. It's still in the boundaries of that engine. So yeah, no real workarounds. We stick to what we have in Unreal.
Last one.
Yeah, about the ACS, I mean, like, didn't you like try if the Unreal won't handle like amount of the objects in the scene, for example, by its own? Like, was it worth to like trying to use the ECS in the Unreal if you like, I don't know, if you have that many like entities on the scene or something like that?
Well, we use ECS not because Unreal is not capable of handling multiple objects. We use ECS because you have the control on when the subsystems update, and you can update things globally, and it's just easier to create like economy or buildings updating with ECS. So that's the only reason. It's pure gameplay based. It's not rooted in the tech.